What's going on, everyone? My name is Mr. Aquaman, and welcome to the KoloCast, a weekly podcast here at the Kolosseum, hosted by myself and my man Flashyy over there. What's going on, Flashyy?
What is going on, Aquaman? Super happy to be here as always. Let me tell you, our guest today is an absolute workhorse in this space, and not only that, they might have the most crisp audio I think I have ever heard in my life. So I'm so excited for you guys to just sit back and listen to the mic settings that this guy has. Is unbelievable, but we got a lot to talk about. Aquaman, bring him on in.
He is someone that has been new to the scene, and he has come in like a meteor in Armageddon, just pumping out content, events, productions, and going balls deep right into the competitive community. Welcome, everyone. HotRodKrusher, host of Outworld Television, 17 other television events, 14 different games, 19 different countries across. No, this isn't that crazy, but it just might be one day. Welcome, HotRod.
Yo, thank you so much for having me. Wow, I don't think there's anything else left to say, man. Thank you for the awesome intro. Jeez, cat's out the bag. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being on, man. We appreciate it because I know I'm a massive fan of the content that you're putting out, and for everyone that watches our events, this guy puts out something different. That's what I like about you, Hot Rod, is you put out something that's different. And for the viewers at home, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and just exactly what you do?
Sure. After that, just promise me you'll tell me what's different about it to you, because I'm always curious to hear that.
Ooh,
and learn
yeah.
more about what others are seeing. Yeah, what we do is events 4 times a week, every week, no weeks off, season after season, all leading up to an end of season top 16 double elimination tournament. Right now, we've got 2 games going. Our plans are to keep the games adding to these television series. And the next one is Killer Instinct. Excuse me. Right now, it's Mortal Kombat and Injustice 2. And we're adding Killer Instinct, Street Fighter, Tekken. And the process has gotten easier now that we've added Injustice. We've kind of had about almost a year before we added Injustice. Mortal Kombat was our only game that we did all the testing on and making sure the system, all that was working good from the back end to the viewer experience. And then once that was almost like plug and play, we added Injustice, and within months Injustice was already like on the level Outworld Television was on, and that took us a year to get to. And it was not only getting the support, but all the other avenues that Outworld has taken months to get to. It reached so fast. So we're excited and looking forward to Killer Instinct doing the same, Street Fighter doing the same, Tekken doing the same. And those games, just so you know, are just because I'm a huge fan of, and there's nothing against Guilty Gear or Melty Blood or all these newer games, because a lot of people are actually asking us to push those newer games in front of Killer Instinct and Street Fighter. And I told them I'm a huge fan of those games, and I'd love to keep something going. And those communities are awesome. And I've gotten to know some people in the KI community and the Street Fighter community and the Tekken community. So I can't wait to get there eventually. But that's pretty much what I do, what we're doing on a weekly basis. And it's been amazing. It's bringing together so many players, people who are still just buying the game for the... Did you imagine somebody just bought Injustice 2 to compete in the events at this point in the game's life cycle? And that gives me goosebumps, because that's what it's all about, and that's what we're primarily here for. If you are a viewer or you've heard about us, you know that we don't necessarily showcase only the professional fighters or the ones who are known in the community, even though we are so thankful that they are participating and a part of these events, from names like Forever King in Injustice, all the way to, Biohazard, his brother Honeybee, and even other great names in there like Aztec, Gur, Tweety, Mighty Unjust. These are all regular participants of these events 4 times a week. These players are taking time, but outside of those names, you'll get somebody like Demon Land, who's just like bought the game a month ago, and he's getting paired up with Biohazard, and he's getting paired up with also other brand new or newer or lesser skilled players. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what we're all about. So it's more of an opportunity for everyone to play, whether you just bought the game this morning or you've been playing it since it came out and you've won and you've placed and you're a top 8 fighter or you're a champion or a finalist. If we can get you in and you have time and it fits your schedule, it's for everyone. It's including anyone who wants to play and have a reason to compete and maybe actually still learn the game, because some people have told us, thanks to you, I have a reason now to learn a new character that I was actually not even going to waste any time getting in the lab, because what's the point? But now I'm getting goosebumps again saying, like, we're at the point where like one fighter is getting paid almost $2,000 on the night of top 8. That's one fighter, not the entire prize pool. And that's insane. And to pay a fighter that night, that amount, is exciting, is another whole aspect for us, for me, on the back end.
Let me tell you, having been in those shoes, it feels really good. It feels really good. From here at the Kolosseum, when Kerbalicious showed us a picture of the car that he bought with like a massive prize pool that was crowdfunded from an online event. It's like that's a special feeling on the inside of actually helping someone else and helping them through just mutually loving the same thing, which is these competitive games. You kind of answered your own question, Hot Rod, when you asked me, what you were curious about my thoughts on what you were doing differently. You kind of answered that question yourself when you said that your format is particularly for everyone. And I'd like to go back to your format, and can you break down just how someone competes in a television series? Because this is what I mean by it's different. It isn't an open bracket. People aren't sitting there waiting for rounds to start. They're not waiting for DQs to go through or anything like that, right? Walk us through, from a competitive standpoint, how to compete in Outworld television.
So the biggest reason we approached it in this format, and when I say we, in the beginning, I had a lot of sparring partners. We all brainstormed together. We would get on calls together before Outworld even existed. We would talk about, hey, what we liked, and we all participated in online. By the way, I have not been to an offline. CEO will be my first offline. I'm super excited for it.
It's gonna be great,
the
man.
wife, the kids, we got the hotel, we got the flights. I'm so excited for that. I got into the FGC when COVID hit. That's like when
Oh wow, that's new. That's real new.
I'm barely 2 years in, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's why I'm also thankful for like an opportunity like this. I'm a baby in this community, and being around people with a lot more experience, or even getting included, like Rick from Combo Breaker, I don't even know, included us in his online Look Alive festival, and we were so thankful for that. But the format is basically, the reason why it's the way it is, and I'll explain it, is because I participated in online events for Mortal Kombat. I participated in a good friend of mine, the Octagon, that's Octavius DMV. He hosted events. Herbs from the Island hosted events. Kevin Cologne hosted events. Those were primarily the ones I was like, oh, there's an online community and they're fighting each other. And once I participated in there, the biggest thing my wife hated was the wait in a bracket. That was like, I was like, yo, babe, I just spent 3 hours in this bracket staring at the screen waiting for my turn, and the guy didn't even show up.
And I went 0-2. I spent 4 hours.
And then it's like, then when the opportunity came, like, hey, let's do something, and we saw there were some people who were interested, because the way it came about was me and the sparring partners, my group of small sparring partners, friends. It was about a couple dozen of us. There was no events one night, and we're like, there's nothing to sign up for, and somebody was like, let's just do our own. And that was the craziest part, because we did a tournament, and it took 2 months to finish our first tournament.
Ooh.
2 months, because there was no time limits. It was open to anybody. If we didn't get through the first bracket, you still had a chance to join and participate. And we basically let people, whoever got met, it was terrible. It was horrible. And we basically let people who signed up just run their set whenever they wanted to. So some people like 3 weeks later still didn't run their set, so we couldn't move the bracket along. But it was crazy, and from there we learned time. It was all about, for me, the biggest thing was time. How can we create an event where the only day you'll wait is tournament day, when the money is on the line, when there's a reason to actually wait. We wanted to make the only time you had to be around for 3 hours was when that money, or you're one step closer to qualifying for that end of season championship prize pool. So the way we did that was to have qualifiers, and the qualifiers, to take it a step further, gives you the exact time you're fighting at 4 times a week. You can even request a time saying, I only want to fight at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, and we will only book you at that time. And thankfully, there are enough people signing up, hundreds per season, that allow us. We have a combination of people with open fight times, specific fight times, people scheduling their qualifiers around their work, around their school. Some people compete only 2 out of the 4 qualifiers a week. That's another great aspect. There's no mandatory obligation from the players. It's only working to your advantage if you're on more qualifiers. So the more qualifiers you can participate, it actually gives you a better chance of ranking higher, because you have the chance to win more fights. But if you're a badass, and there's a lot of badasses, some fight once per week and still qualify, just because they don't take any losses, or they hardly lose. And then there's a whole call out mechanic that came 4 seasons ago that got introduced, and basically every time the final half of the season starts, we saw that in past earlier seasons, like the first 4 seasons, anybody who was right outside top 8 or top 16 really had a hard time. Even if they were winning all their fights, even against very tough players, they still weren't able to break through top 16, because the ones who were ranked were just sitting there, or they were just sitting and, pretty much can take the whole final half. So we introduced at the final half of every season where anybody in a certain qualified rank can actually call out a top 8 or top 16 ranked fighter. And if they don't show up, that person can't get another opponent. So they can't just dodge the bullet. They won't be able to participate in the event if somebody's calling them out. And if they don't participate and they don't show up, the one who did the call out still gets an opponent and still gets priority on that person the next time there. So it's almost like you can't, if you want to be a champion, you can't dodge fights. It kind of works hand in hand. So that's pretty much, I hope that format made sense. It's basically qualifiers. There's 23 qualifiers every season, 1 tiebreaker for anybody who's tied at 16, and then the top 16 finale.
That's telling me every season. You've only been doing this for almost close to 2 years. You've only been doing this for a year and a half.
15
Dude,
months.
You are introducing like formats and play styles and point systems and shit that I have never even heard exist in a fighting game. Maybe they do, but all this shit that you're talking about, my brain is like exploding. Like
they do, because we didn't create any of this.
Okay,
we just learned. Yeah, we didn't create any of this. We only learned and improvised and improved on systems that were already built. But the more seasons that continue, we are constantly like improving those rules. So they are like evolving with every season. Those rules are taking on a slight, and maybe the current rules compared to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons are maybe unique now, but they were never from the start. They were just what a lot of people are like, hey, this person does this. Hey, this person has a ranking system. So it was kind of like, okay, what can we pull? And so we don't, it's definitely nothing new, but it's new. It was new to me. And it's just like you, it's new to a lot of people that are participating or watching. They're like,
that in the fighting game space, they're used to the open bracket format, and that's pretty much it. And so something that we want to talk about anyway is just thinking of it from a streaming aspect. You guys stream what? It's 2 hours every night. How many?
90 minutes. An hour
90 minutes every
each event. Each channel.
Yeah,
Monday
4
through
times
Thursday,
a night.
every Monday.
Multiple channels, and on top of that, a lot of these matches are running off stream, and you're filtering them through I'm assuming spreadsheets of data with points and
It's
wins
a
and stuff like
custom
that.
website actually. So I coded my own website, and that's actually another just
I'm
that's
sorry.
that's
Holy
actually a background
shit,
that
man.
I'm thankful to bring. That's just
You know,
a personal
hey,
experience.
I need to bring this up because I have known 2 others like that in my life, and their skill set when they've done stuff in the FGC has broken my brain. And that's exactly what you just did right there, because
Oh,
the
man.
first time I ever worked with someone with that skill set, I was like, oh, this is my problem with this thing. Is like, I can just build a thing on a website that does it. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. That's exactly what I'm saying to you right now, Hot Rod. You son of a bitch. But
Yo,
that
man.
sounds
Too
incredible.
good, man. It's too good. It's awesome.
It's just one of those things that I was thankful to have experience with ever since I was the internet came out, AOL or blah, that's how old I am. I'm 38, so like around 8th grade or 7th grade is when people started getting computers connected to the internet in their house, at least as far as around me. And my last few years of junior high was fascinated with these websites, and I was always just learning coding nonstop, and I got into databases, and I got into using all other types like JavaScript and PHP, and just integrating that all together. And the thing I love about those that type of coding is that like you were saying earlier, you can code what you want to happen if you're trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's just so thankful. So FGTV.gg, so that's Fighting Games Television.gg is what we do, is the website. And I coded all that and derived inspiration from other sites. The rankings are there. The lineups are there. The past results are there. The current champions, former champions are there. The brief, what is it we do here, is all there. And that's just something that wasn't necessary, but I felt would just make the player and viewer experience, because they're all going there. They're like, Hot Rod, when's the rankings updating?
That's right.
When is this happening? And, they're checking it. And the crazy part is, so our lineup every fight day comes out around 4 p.m. Eastern. I don't even announce that it's updated, and people are, I don't know what they're doing. They're refreshing the website or something.
Ooh, like around
And
4 o'clock?
And they're, before I announce it, they're asking their offline opponent or their off-stream opponent if they're ready to run the set. And I was like, and these are people like Unjust, Tweety. They are asking their opponent. They are looking at the lineup before and when I just hit save and publish, before I even announce it. And sometimes I do it an hour early. So it's not like they're refreshing it at the right, at the same time every day. They must be checking this stuff. So I'm just glad that the site is being used and that players and viewers are finding use out of it, because I don't want to make something that I don't want to make something that makes me happy, but nobody else is like looking at. I'm saying if I'm bringing it to the public, I want something that has use value. I want somebody, that's why I'm always asking people, is there things that, that you don't use or aren't necessary that you see that we're doing? Because we'll delete it, we'll chop it, we'll skim it, we'll cut it out. But I'm so glad that they use it for the rankings, they use it for the lineup, they use it. Some players are doing the math for the final 2 weeks of the season, seeing what they need, who they need to fight, or if they can not show up the last 4 events and be secured into the finale. So it's really cool that they're using that.
Yeah, one thing that I'm really seeing come out from everything that you're saying in terms of like the format of your events and then how you built the website and stuff is, it seems like, and we talk about this a lot on the show, getting inspiration from everywhere. And again, you were saying it's like you're kind of going around and cherry picking the best cherries of all the different trees that are around you, and I think that's absolutely awesome. I feel like maybe not a lot of people do that. Like, for example, if they're making Mortal Kombat content, they're only going to watch Mortal Kombat content, where there's so much to learn from any other game's content. There's so much to learn from like cooking content, like anything. And again, it's just cherry picking and picking those things out, and for you to have that mentality to see all of these different opportunities and bring them into your own world, your television world that you got going on, is absolutely awesome. But something I wanted to ask you, we're spending a lot of time talking about the actual events themselves, and this kind of popped up while we were talking. You kind of just started this, you're like a player online, you're like, you know what, I'll just start my own with my friends or whatever. You also commentate your events. Was that something in the plan that you wanted to do, is be a commentator? Or did that just kind of happen? Nice.
I gotta say this 100%.
I would love to hear the story.
Flashy, I'm so glad you're asking this, man. And this is something I think about all the time. If it wasn't for Mr. Aquaman, Darth Arma, Ultra David, and Evan,
Legends.
I seriously would have never picked up a mic. So because of you guys, maybe there would have been an Outworld Television, but the reason I got on commentating was because of you guys. And so thank you, man. I get the chance to say that right now. I've said it in the past, but I love saying it and I talk about it all the time. It's those four during the Pro Comp, before Outworld Television, when they were streaming that. And I told Honey, there's a Pro Comp tour going on this weekend. We ain't going out. We're ordering food. We're watching this. And it was some of my favorite times before the whole pandemic hit, because although Outworld started during the pandemic and all that, I was playing Mortal Kombat 11, not competitively, but watching it and following it. And once I saw that fighters like Katana Prime were streaming on like their own Twitch channel, and then I was like, yo, they're fighting this weekend at like Evo or something on the Pro Tour. When I saw Ultra David, and I wasn't really looking at any other games, I wasn't watching anybody else. It was just that game and those four commentators that really did it for me. And so thank you again, man.
Well, thank you, man. That means a lot, because
that was awesome.
It's very rare to hear any form of inspiration in the community. So I really do appreciate it, man. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because, you know, some of my favorite people within the community, and especially get to know, are those that go through really similar kind of experiences. And having worn every hat you can pretty much wear in the community at this rate, those are the people that I like to, you know, see come up, because people like you are what this community is going to need moving forward. And you've created something that can, I feel like, push us in the right direction. And that right direction, even I'm working on it, is finding that way to bridge that gap between the hyper competitive player, right? The hyper competitive player and the casual player. Because looking at the FGC as a whole, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, but I'm just gonna get one little thread started here, where Mortal Kombat is the biggest fucking fighting game on planet Earth, almost in sheer numbers of units sold, and my grandmother knows about it. Like,
oh yeah, man.
Everyone knows about Mortal Kombat. Our competitive community makes up for like 0.001% probably of the actual player base for it. And I think that for us to, you know, find more success than we even have, because we have been pretty successful, is trying to get more of those casual players involved in a competitive setting like that. And I think that a format like Outworld Television is perfect for it. But my point right there is we need to get more people involved in these events. You know, I want to see our numbers, breaking numbers, with how big Mortal Kombat is as an IP, sending with Injustice and whatever might come next.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm excited because somebody asked me, actually, Neck Giants, the last bad day, Joker Man, he was one of my sparring partners before Outworld Television even exists. He said, Rod, what are you gonna do when the next MK game comes out? Because Outworld came almost in the end of the life of MK11, and everybody signs up to participate. How the hell are you going to manage it? I said, I don't know, man. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But he did say something right, and Dame Falcon said that as well. What are you going to do when all these new players are buying the game, or, you know, birth and life has been born into another release from them, whether it's MK12 or whatever they're working on, and people know there's opportunities to play, and it's not invite only, and it's not only for the pros, and it's not only for badasses, and they can participate. How are you going to manage it? And I just want to see it happen first. Then I'll worry about that, you know, when we get there.
Speaking from experience, most things are handled on the fly in this space. You know, whether it be while you're live. And let me tell you, going back to the very first thing said from Flashyy, Hot Rod's audio quality. I remember how freaked out this man was the first time I ever got on a call with him about audio, and for I feel like I saw it on Twitter for months, Hot Rod. You going through your settings and changing it every single week and adjusting it, and that on top of everything else, you've just been grinding, man. You have been grinding, and the hard work, like you talked about, definitely paid off, because look at how your seasons look now, back compared to season one, and how you guys were able to just progress and advance every single season. It's been fantastic.
I want to say on that
to
note,
watch.
I purposely share a lot of the tech issues I have on Twitter because I love to get to get input from the community, any community, even if it's somebody I'm not following, but they're seeing my tweet like in passing, because they can offer tech and insight that I would have never found, whether it was talking to just the people I know, or so I do that on purpose. And there's been a ton of times where people have recommended, suggested, helped me because of seeing a tweet like that. So I do that on purpose. It does help. I do it also to help, like, hey, I found out this new compressor tool that, if used correctly, can really help, improve the quality of your audio. But then that could help somebody. But at the same time, I could get more help from more eyes seeing those tweets. And that's why you might see I'm always sharing video issues or improvements or findings and things like that. So I love to pass that knowledge on so that it can help someone, but that also really does help me as well, getting more people sharing their feedback.
I definitely think that I should take that approach, because if I get any audio or video problem, I'll just sit here with YouTube open and like the OBS open, just rip my hair out by myself because I got nobody, and that is such a great way to look at it, man. It seems like when you came into this scene, you were just like, I am here to grow the scene and to just build up all the people around me. And what I noticed that was how, when you're talking about your events, you kept talking about the viewer experience and the player experience. And that is so awesome to hear, because I feel like a lot of people, maybe not, but maybe they do, but when they're running events, they kind of just care about themselves and making sure they look good. But it seems like you were just like, what's going to be enjoyable for the viewer? Yeah, that guy over there, he would know a thing or two. But you're like, what's going to be enjoyable for the viewer? What's going to be enjoyable for the player? And I just want to know, what were some of the challenges when approaching putting on live stream events like that, where you're like, it's not about me, it's about these people? Were there any challenges that you faced that you weren't maybe expecting coming up?
So this is where I got to respond and let you know. I said it earlier, I'm almost 40. I come from a family of a family-owned business background, growing into a family business. I have to say that everything I'm implementing, almost everything, is coming with a lot of organizational and managerial experience that, funny enough, translates into these events, because we're dealing with people.
Yes.
And that's the biggest experience. That I may be doing a lot of things, whether I learned it when I was 7 or 15 or 20, and dealing with people that I'm just implementing all throughout these events. And before Outworld Television, before this whole online event organization, I overlooked almost a dozen UFC gym locations in real life across the Midwest territory. And what's so crazy, and I share this a lot with people in private or when they ask, is that I was responsible for bringing people together in those locations across Indiana, Illinois, and there would be a fighter, an actual coach who works in one of the locations, and he had a fight coming up, and we had to promote the fight, and we had to bring people to go to see the fight, and we had to sell tickets. This is making
so much sense, by the way, because before I was like, where did we get this wrestling style production from a computer geek? And yeah, I needed something to close that gap, and we just got it. Continue.
Dude, I'm a huge UFC fan, and as you were talking, I was like, this reminds me, like, when you're talking about rankings and stuff, and like fighting for the top rank and not just sitting there, because there's a lot of, I mean, I don't want to get into UFC, this isn't a UFC podcast, but a lot of people will just get the belt and then they're just sitting back, and they're just, and it holds
there's
up
a lot of it, man. You're 100% right.
That is so crazy that you actually worked with UFC shit, because as you're talking, I'm like, bro, this sounds exactly like, this man is literally the MK Dana White right here. We got the MK
we're in,
Dana White.
Being a franchise, also I got the chance to be a franchise owner as well of the locations. We were able to have annual meetings, just 200 of us with Dana White in a room.
Dude.
And it was one-on-one. And so I got to see that insight. And and we do pull a lot of, just like we pull a lot of inspiration from existing organizations in the FGC. We also pulled a lot of inspiration, and outside of the UFC, there are the minor leagues. In your local town, there's HFC. In Indiana, there's Hoosier Fight Club, and these are the stepping stones that fighters have to prove and win records on before they get a phone call or can even apply to the UFC and fight on the big stage. So there's all that inspiration, the ticket sales and the bookings, the fighters matchmaking that I do 4 times a week is like how I was booking classes for boxing and kickboxing with. Each location had almost 1,000+ members at the UFC gym. So I got to know thousands and thousands of people in real life who were looking to learn, looking to compete, looking to train from the ground up, who were coming from another state, said, hey man, I'm from Florida. I'm from American Kickboxing Academy.
That's
I'm
awesome,
looking
yeah.
to keep it going. And there's people like saying the same thing, hey man, I fought in other, and it's just, it translates. It's so synonymous. It's so,
Yes.
it's hilarious. And when people don't show up for their fights on Outworld or Injustice or anything, it's the same way as somebody not showing up for their boxing or kickboxing class. In the same second, there's all these emergency standby fill-in players that will just get a DM on just says, hey, so-and-so's not shown up. Within minutes, he's got a new opponent already. And it's that clockwork and that system that helps me run it without, I don't kill myself working. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not buried in work on a weekly basis. These events are 90 minutes each. As soon as the event goes off stream, I'm hanging out with my kids and
I
wife.
can't tell you how envious I am of that, by the way. As someone that I did six, I want to say 6 12-week seasons over a couple of year span, about 3 shows a week, and they averaged 6 hours long each. And that is unholy. And even to this
Unholy
day
is right.
And even to this day, when it gets beyond about 3 hours, I'm like, this shit's getting pretty old pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And so
I feel you, man.
I'm not gonna lie to you, just driving from everything you've said, and by the way, that story, it makes what Outworld Television is makes so much more sense.
Yes, definitely.
Seeing that background in you, and then the energy that you bring to the show as well. Very energetic, you're very much Joe Rogan on the sideline, just screaming his balls off as to whatever the hell's happening. That's
man.
I can see it now. But you said that I've helped inspire you when it comes to the commentary. What you've been able to pull off has helped inspire me as well with events to try to make
amazing.
experiences better for players and what I need to do. And that's actually what I'm currently working on with the Kolosseum here. And anyone watching, there'll be a trailer soon. It'll be pretty cool. I'm excited. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, that's why I said you do things differently, man, because it's easier for the player. It's easier for you because the old systems were kind of, there were issues, and you pointed them out. For players, an open bracket is not ideal when you're trying to get experience, when you're trying to learn, and when you have X amount of time in the day to do shit. Because if you've wasted 3 hours playing 2 to 3 matches and not learning anything, getting 6 matches in total if you go 0-2 and get bodied, 3 hours to play 6 games, and like, what do you get from that? And so it's trying to find a way to make it worth everyone's time and effort, and for us as a broadcaster, how do we simplify things so that we're not sitting here destroying our lungs, and for the viewers having to set aside a whole day to watch a top 8 play out, double elimination, or top 16, or even pool play. So shout outs to you on inspiring what I think is going to be awesome moving forward, which is doing things a little bit differently than the norm has been here in the FGC. Cool shit, man.
So one final thing before we go. There's something I wanted to ask you, because you, again, talking about doing things differently. I've always been interested in this aspect of what you guys are doing over on the television series. You decided to split up the games into different channels, different social media accounts, instead of having everything under one umbrella. Because you have, like you said, you have the Outworld Television, which is doing the MK thing. You got Injustice Television, obviously Injustice, and you also have Killer Instinct Television. I'm assuming when you said before you're gonna have Street Fighter Television, Tekken Television. What was kind of the deciding factor where you're like, I don't want to keep everything under one umbrella. Everything's gonna kind of have its own umbrella, because there's a lot of challenges to come with splitting up the audience, splitting up the channels, and all the distribution and things like that. So what was kind of that mentality to be like, you know what, this is what we're gonna do, and this is gonna fit for us?
That's something I had thought about a lot before actually doing. And believe it or not, Injustice Television's Twitter and Twitch channel were both registered when Outworld Television was first started. So it was just in hibernation. And we were like, we didn't know when we did launch Injustice Television officially, and we did choose the route, because I was going back and forth. I was like, should this all be one? Should this be under? It should be multiple. And then I got to know the community, and some of these people in the Injustice community don't fuck with MK at all. At all. Whether they despise it or have no interest in it.
And they'll let you know if they do. Very much so.
Whatever their reason for it, and it could be endless reasons, showed me that as a player, viewer, competitor who would feel that way, I want nothing to do with another channel that's showing something that I don't want to be a part of, even though in the bigger picture, it's like, yeah, but you'll bring everyone together, or you'll listen. I love Nips. I don't follow CGL's main Twitch channel personally, because I don't want to get notifications or see Overwatch or whatever they got going on. And he does have those things happening, and he umbrellas it all under CGL. And it's just being real. Why? Yeah, but Hot Rod, you can mute it. You can turn off the notifications. I don't want to see it in my feed. If I have limited time every day and limited space, and that box that shows CGL players hosting a Overwatch tournament is taken up by somebody else in the community that I'm actually want to see related to the games I enjoy, I was like, you know what? I know it's going to be a little bit extra work for me. The FGTV Hub website does have all the channels there listed together. So it's more like a pick your game at the website, but I wanted to build that relationship, and I would want to say, in a sense, loyalty with the community who only likes that game. CGL, although they're doing amazing things, and Injustice Television's first event wouldn't have been able to be put on without them. That umbrella approach, to me, and this is just my opinion and my experience, I could be wrong many years later from now or months, but right now it's very impersonal in connecting with the community when you're a conglomerate type of umbrella trying to cater to. I didn't want to make one channel called Fighting Games Television. I didn't want to do that, because people will be like, we'll be in the crowd out there, when's the Street Fighter? What is this? I follow this channel for Street Fighter. Why is there a Mortal Kombat event going on right now?
Mortal Kombat and Resident Sleeper.
There'll be conversations happening right as soon as Injustice ends and Mortal Kombat starts on the same channel. There'll be questions. Literally, when Injustice just ended, where's the Injustice events? They were just 90 minutes ago. You missed it. And I don't want to, because what is that adding? What is that adding to all the people out there in the crowd? Instead, you know why you're here. You know what you're getting from this broadcast. And like I said, I try not to paint the picture that I'm having this, limited, excluding type of narrow mindset. I did it for the sole purpose to build relationships with those in the community, rather than coming off of some big corporation who also streams an unrelated category, unrelated genre outside of the fighting game community. And I understand there are organizations that do that, and their model, their plan, their outlook could be totally different than what we're doing. But the reason why we're having KI Television, Injustice Television, Outworld Television, is so that hardcore Mortal Kombat, and there's a crossover. There are people who love Injustice Television and love Outworld Television. They love both of them. People that don't even play the game, they love it, and they'll probably forever. They'll just follow KI Television. They'll follow Street Fighter Television, and because they love maybe the format, the experience, the interaction. But where we divide it is because there are just people, man, that, you know, a Marvel person maybe doesn't like DC. You don't see both Marvel and DC, at least right now, issued under the same umbrella now. You
one
know,
of the 13 leaks I've seen.
Oh, jeez, here we go.
May suggest
Here we go
otherwise.
again, man.
Oh, I mean, hey, it might happen, man. Eventually, they might be fucking. Let's all be under one umbrella. But you know,
No,
it's
that
the
was
same
super
reason.
fascinating to hear that. I think there's definitely multiple approaches to how to do it. You know, how you said CGL was doing one thing, Kolosseum's doing one thing, and the way you're doing it is another way. And you know, they all have their pros, they all have their cons. And as long as like you know what you want and why you're doing it, and that's why you chose that approach, then you're in the clear. So I really like that. I never actually heard that approach before. So hearing your kind of explanation of it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually really awesome.
There's actually a really similar approach to learning fighting games, where someone really early on in my career taught me something I'm never going to forget. And they said that as long as you can give a reason for why you did something, you're already 10 steps ahead of everyone else. You know, every single button that you press while you're playing a fighting game, if I ask you, why did you do that? If you don't have an answer, you're fucking up.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking
So
at it.
that's a really good way of looking at it. And same thing with what you're applying to Outworld Television, man. As long as you have a reasoning behind it, you believe in that reasoning, you're doing something all right, man. And that's a perfect way to end this, is that you're doing something right. And we love what you're doing over there, man. From all of us here at the Kolosseum, massive fans. And I'm going to give you one last chance here to have the floor. Give some shout outs if you want. And
plug the
take
hell
us
out of
home.
everything you got. Plug everything you got
my
right
goodness.
now. All of it.
Well, big shout out to JJ, who was our commentator for the first 6 weeks of Outworld Television when we first started. He was there every single night. He was there no matter what. I don't know how he did it, but he showed up just as much as I did, even if I don't know how he did it. He didn't miss one event for the first 5 weeks of Outworld Television. And back then, we had one event was 3 hours or something like that. And now we're 90 minutes. So that's, you know, but big shout out to JJ, and we can't thank him enough. But man, oh my goodness, the shout outs are to everyone, all the players, all the fighters. That's where the shout outs go to. Thank you for taking a chance. Katana Prime, Biohazard were the first two pros that took a chance on Outworld. They were in season 1. They made runnings. Biohazard was the first. Nobody knew who the hell we were, and Bio said, "Sure, I'll play." KP said the same thing, and so hats off to everyone to date. But a big shout out to the ones way back in the day, and also the ones behind the scenes, Knack Giants, Last Bad Day, who helped us in the early days formulate the format. All the players, the original OG 2-month-long tournament, Clutch Jitsu, who was the first ever unofficial Outworld champion before we actually had a season. He was the winner of that 2-month-long tournament we were talking about earlier. But it's really just, man, the shout outs are endless. Honestly, y'all, we can go on for 15 months straight giving shout outs.
Where can they find you?
You can find us, I would say, go to fgtv.gg, or there's my Twitter. But the website actually links you to all the television series. So if you're trying to go to Outworld Television, it's pretty much just Outworld Television on Twitch, and Justice Television. That's the name of it on Twitch. But thank you all so much for the time and the opportunity. Never thought I would be doing this. So big thank you for including me and considering.
One last thing. When are Outworld TV and Injustice Television events? What days of the week and at what time?
Same days, same times every week, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday through Thursday, nothing on the weekends, nothing on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And 5:30 p.m. is Injustice Television. 7:30 p.m. is Outworld Television. Same days.
There you go. You guys heard it. Be sure to sign up. Be sure to tune in. They're absolutely awesome. HotRod, I can't believe you've only been doing this for 15 months, man. I can't wait to see what happens in the next 15 months if you've already gotten this far. It's absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Be sure to give Justice Television, Outworld TV, all of those a follow over on Twitter. Follow them on Twitch as well. HotRod on Twitter. All that good stuff is going to be in the description. Awesome talking to you, brother. We appreciate everybody watching. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode of KoloCast. We'll see you then.